That's not it. It's a lot of this is mentality. Certainly, we're going to try to find ways to make our team better, and that sometimes does involve of changing of personnel. But it's also in those critical moments, right? You get to the end of the playoffs and we're all emotional. And you lose in Game 7 of Round 2, and it feels like you've missed the playoffs for 5 straight years. And the focus when I looked at our group was just in those critical moments, finding a way to be better. To finding a way to be at our very best, and that's what I was focused around when I talk about that. So some of that's internally, some of that's whether it be from between the years. And some of that's in terms of personnel. So that's when I talk about that, or when I made that statement, that's really what I was alluding to. And from, there's a lot of things we work on with our group over the course of the summer and in our communication with them. But as far as the personnel side, it's a work in progress right now. We've made, we were able to do, handle a couple of our files prior to today with John Tavares, Matthew Nyes, the acquisition of Michelli, and we'll continue to work at it. We continue to work as we said earlier, and as Noodles has mentioned. We've got some time here before we start the season. Today's a big day on the calendar, but we will continue to work at trying to find ways to improve our team.
With Brad Treliving, the GM of the Maple Leafs, we haven't heard from Auston Matthews, really since the end of the season. I wasn't anticipating hearing from him today, but I'm curious if you have any insight on how, he's taken the news that Mitch Marner's not going to be his teammate anymore.
I haven't talked to Austin today, and obviously they've got a close personal relationship. A lot of. And I don't think it would be unusual that you guys aren't speaking with him today. Obviously, he's not in town. But that's probably a question better suited for him. I know obviously they had a close relationship. But I also understand, what I found in this day and age too is players, they respect each other's personal business, right? They're a close unit as a team, but I think of players around the league, everybody's got their own personal business to take care of. I think players are respectful of that. They don't want to infringe upon anything that's what I would deem personal business. But I also think that I don't think this is a shock to today. I don't think Austin was waking up shocked to the news of the move, but certainly that there were teammates for a long time, and they've got a close personal relationship. And I don't want to speak for Austin at all, but I'm sure as all of us are. You wish him the very best. But you also look forward to what's ahead for us.
Tree, you end up getting Nicholas. Is it Waugh or Roy? Where are we going to go?
Waugh. Now he's even closer to Quebec.
Okay,
now,
so Nicholas.
And he grew up a Leaf fan. That's what he was saying today.
And Michelli, talk about the players that you have brought in here. Little different look. Michelli, I think, has some skill. He's not a big guy, but it looks. I saw him live a few times last year. I really liked him, and then Waugh has, best you use the word snot. He's a big guy who plays hard, and he can be versatile. Talk about the guys that you brought in here, maybe a little different look.
Yeah, well, Nick is a real good player. He's sort of. I think there's even more opportunity for him here. That's a strong center group that they have in Vegas. Right shot center, long guy. Really has excelled in a defensive role in terms of matchups, playing against good players on the other team, penalty killing. But there's some, he's got good hands. There's some sneaky skill there. Highly competitive player. You look around, teams that win, you need that we all talk. We all want to put everybody into a box of a first-line player, second-line player. I think there's a lot of talk about second-line centers all over the league right now, but if you don't necessarily, and I'm not speaking just for our situation, but if you don't necessarily have that perfect 1, 2, 3, 4 down the middle, there's lots of teams that the league is all based on matchups, and I think Nick is a guy that can take heavy matchups. If you look at Winnipeg for an example, we won the President's Trophy this year. Where Adam Lowry, I think everybody would consider as a third-line center, he really plays in a heavy matchup role. So you've got Scheifele, then you've got Lowry taking heavy matchups, and then you've got Nemesnikov coming in sort of underneath. And that's where I look at a player like Nick, who's able to. If you look at our situation right now with Austin and John, I think he's able to come in and play in a real matchup role. Our series with Florida, again, when you look at how things played out from a match standpoint, Barkov took Austin. Lundell, for the most part, was playing against John, and then Bennett comes in, and when you can get a favorable matchup, and that's an area for us that we really wanted to try to address, is somebody that can come in here and potentially play in a matchup role, handle some penalty killing responsibilities, gives us a right shot center at the face-off dot. So been a really good player for Vegas, and I expect him to be a good player for us. And Michelli, as you said, he's a guy who had a down year this year. We think he brings some skill, some creativity, with some of the players in our team, their offensive abilities. I think he can complement. He can complement those players. He was obviously looking for a fresh start, and we'll see. We think the cost was manageable for some potential upside here, and so I know, speaking with him, he's excited to get in here. He's excited to get around our group, so we're looking forward to see what he can bring us.
Brad, we'll get you out of here on a question about those Cup champs. You just referenced that matchup, and they find a way to bring back Bennett, bring back Ekblad, bring back Brad Marchand. We discussed it all day today, and we've been discussing it for weeks. Like, they're clearly the crown jewel of the NHL right now. They're within your division. How often are you thinking of that specific matchup? How you beat Florida when you're building out your roster?
Well, they've set